Hello, everyone. This is Diana Lidstone, the Entrepreneur's GPS, and we are here today with the award-winning Susan Friesen from eVision Media, and we're going to do a little interview for the Canadian Coach. So, thank you so much for joining me, Susan, and let's get right to it because time is precious for everybody. So tell me a little bit about how you got started in the business that you are currently in.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Diana. Thanks for the invitation to have this conversation. Heather has been a client of ours for several years, and I'm a staunch supporter of the Canadian Coach and what she's trying to achieve here. So this is really cool, a nice way to support everybody. And yeah, I've been in the web development industry for 20 years now. eVision Media develops websites and brands, and we're kind of like all under one umbrella roof, a full digital marketing agency. So people will come to us needing a brand created and then a website and then all of the marketing that goes with that, SEO, social media, copywriting, you kind of name it, and that's what we do. And I evolved into this kind of by accident. Years ago, I used to be a faux finisher, where you do the modeling on the walls and stuff. And I also had a craft business. And one day we got this contraption on our desk, this computer. And I said to my girlfriend, that's the future. I need to figure out what to do with that sucker and be creative on it. And so, long story short, I ended up developing websites and designing websites as a result of that. So that's why I got into this, because I knew that the computer was going to something to do with with how our lives got shaped, and it certainly did.
Certainly has. It certainly has. And it's so true. And I'm sure that a lot of the listeners here, they've sort of, if I can say, the accidental entrepreneur. You've stumbled into something and by accident. But I'm sure that as you go through you have gone through your journey in these years, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about, and I'm sure people are interested, your business didn't start out, or maybe it did start out being successful, but what was a little bit of the journey?
Yeah, and the journey was definitely the accidental part. So what I did was I went to school and learned this profession, and actually became a webmaster at the Vancouver Sun and the province here on the West Coast. And so I immediately went into corporate and thought that was going to be my career. But then they did a whole restructuring and changing, and decided they didn't need a webmaster anymore. So that's when I went back to school and got my business degree in computer information systems. So my intention even at that point was to get into another corporate job, a chief information officer, something like that, at some corporate offices. But while I was doing the schooling work, I had nothing else to do. So I started doing some networking, and I joined a local networking group and volunteered my services. They needed a website. Oh, I can build websites. It wasn't even on my radar to actually create a business. And I think, this is, by this time, this is like 15 years ago. So websites were still pretty new. Not everybody had one for certain. And it was certainly not a standard thing to have in the business world. And so I really did luck out in that my instincts were correct in that, that computer was the future and websites was part of that. And so I happened to be getting in on the ground floor of website development. And it just kind of evolved. All of a sudden, their friends told them about me, and I'm still getting my business degree. I'm still having every intention of becoming a CIO somewhere. And next thing I know, before I've graduated, I've got a list of clients that I'm dealing with, and I'm going, oh, maybe there's something happening here.
maybe the universe is telling you something. Yes.
Yeah. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, hey, wait a second. Now I'm my own CIO plus the CEO and every other C-level executive that every business has. So I kind of gave up the idea of working for somebody else and and started to actually create a business here and started hiring. And so, yeah, that's how it all started. So my main focus then and still is working with female entrepreneurs. That tends to be who I attract because, we like to support each other. But now we have more evolved into small businesses, corporate entities, nonprofits, things like that. So, but I would say the core of our of who we serve and who I love to serve the most is the solo entrepreneurs or female-owned businesses. That gives me the most joy.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Is there, something, is there a specific levels that somebody has to be at to sort of, if I could say, afford your services? So, somebody just starting out, or does it need to be somebody who's been in business for a while, or, what's better for you? Who is your ideal client, I guess?
Yeah. Well, that's a really good question. It's not it doesn't depict the level. It doesn't necessarily mean what level they're at. I absolutely love working with people who have the business idea and they come to me and they say, I've got this idea. I know what I want to create, and I know, and this is the important part, is that I know I need to do it right the first time. I don't want to waste my time trying to figure out everything myself, build my own website, create my own logo. Like they understand that is just not the way to go. It's going to cost them way more money and effort and time in the long run than if they had just done it right and were willing to invest in their business right off the bat. And so that is the scenario that I love the most, of people who are brand new and we get to create their brand for them, and we go on that journey with them and walk them through all of the different phases, and then help them in the marketing and get them established out in the business world. Now, the second part to that is I also love working with those who have been struggling for 3, 5, 10 years and have had enough of trying to figure it all by themselves. They've clearly figured out that they don't know everything that they need to know, and nor should they. And I don't quite understand why we figure that we have to know all of this ourselves. There's something wrong in today's media messages that's making us feel like we should know everything already. But anyway, that's a different rant.
That's another conversation.
That's another conversation, definitely. But yeah, so those people who come to me and saying, I need to just wipe the site clean, start fresh, brand, do this the right way. And they're of the mindset that they are ready and willing and able to invest in their business, that they know that that's the way they need to be in order to actually achieve the goals that they're about to achieve or wanting to achieve.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you say you work with somebody for their brand, can you tell us a little bit what that means to you?
Yeah, well, branding is a big subject. Like from a physical perspective, it's your logo and your how your website looks and your business cards and things like that. But it's actually a much deeper scenario. Your brand, the voice. Like right now, I'm depicting my brand as we talk. That our brand voice is part of our branding. How we communicate with our clients, how we communicate on social media is part of our branding, our brand messaging. And so it's all about that brand perception. What we want to achieve is that if somebody hears my name or hears eVision Media, they have an idea in their mind already that we are a professional, competent, trustworthy web development, digital marketing firm. That's branding. It's about the perception that other people have of you and your business that you need to create. It's not just something that happens willy-nilly. It's a concerted effort to make that happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was interesting that you picked up a couple of words, like professional. I forget what some of the other words were, and trusted, I think, was another word that you used. So I think it's so important that people have to look at themselves and what is the perception that they want people to get from them? What is that feeling that they want? And, they get I don't know if this happens, but I think perhaps they get caught up in taglines and what the logo is going to look like as opposed to perhaps the feeling. Would you say that might be correct?
Oh, yeah, that's very correct. And again, going back to the do-it-yourselfers, they might create a logo that they love, but they might not realize that the perception that they are giving off with that creation of their own is completely opposite to what they really want their brand perception to be, because they don't know. They don't know how colors and font choices and things like that have a visceral effect on people,
Right.
that subconscious effect. So yeah, you've got it bang on. It's about that perception and how everything, everything from every email we send, every tweet that we put on Twitter, our brand, our banner design on Facebook, just because we created it and we're happy with it, we think it looks lovely, doesn't mean that we are giving the right impression to our target audience.
Right. Right. You're so correct. But let me ask you, what is the favorite thing? What is the thing that you love doing the most in your business?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Having conversations like this is actually really fun for me because I usually stuck in front of my computer all day long. But I do mentor. Our group is made up of coaches, and one part of what I offer is mentoring. Entrepreneurs and small business owners. Helping them get more strategic with stop spinning your wheel. Let's figure out your goals. Let's be strategic about this, and let's come up with a plan. And then I'll help you fulfill that plan, that strategy. And I love doing that. It makes me feel very rewarding, knowing that I have made a difference in somebody's life and helping them, get decluttered in their mind. Because as you know, in today's world of social media and online marketing, there's just so many messages that we're being bombarded with. And that's part of the reason why everybody feels like, I should know everything. And so I like to be that voice of reason and help them walk through these stages so that they don't have to feel so guilty or anxious about not knowing it all themselves.
Right, right. And I think especially when, coaches and that sort of thing, when they're starting out, they look at people who, or this has been my experience, is they look at people who, like yourself, who've been in business for 20 years and go, well, why can't I get there in 2 months? And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of gurus out there who tell them they can do it in a week, so that doesn't help at all because that's so misconstrued and false.
Yeah. So let's find out a little bit. What is something that you love to do for fun when you're not working?
Yeah, and I kind of had to chuckle about that. Okay, when don't I work? Honestly, work is fun for me. I work 16 hours a day, 6-7 days a week. I do take weekends off every once in a while. As some of you may know, I went to New York. I guess it's been 6 weeks ago now, and I actually fractured my left arm. So I've been on the mend for a while now. But going away for weekend getaways is probably the thing I do for fun, just to kind of escape and recharge. And I think the second part is just getting together with people, going to networking events, and just having that communication, that
Right.
that sense of connecting with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're almost at the end of our time here. So just quickly, what is it that you love about Canada? What's one thing that you really love?
Yeah, well, what's not to love, really? Really, we're so unique and diverse, and over on the West Coast, we're suffering from a bunch of fires, unfortunately, right now. But the weather is. I love the seasons, and I love the people. I think the people is probably the biggest thing. Is that we are a very kind a kind nationality where people do want to look out for each other, and we say please and thank you, and so. I like that. Yeah.
Cool, cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been great to get to know you a little bit more. And I'm sure the listeners from the Canadian Coach are really going to appreciate this so much. Thank you, Susan.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Diana. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
All right.